Hello everyone, I greet you in the name of God Almighty. My name is Apostle Newton Silas and I'm here with Nancy Grace. And today we have a very interesting topic to react to. It says countries that have no mosques. Okay, guys, I believe this is going to be a very interesting one. So guys, if today happens to be the first time of you checking out my channel, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on my Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any video you want me to react to, don't forget to drop it at the comment section and I'm going to check it out. So guys, before we get on to the video, I'm a theologian and I make this video not to discredit anyone's religion. This is basically for educational purposes, and I believe that at the end of this video we all are going to learn from it. So guys, let's get down to the video and see some of these countries that have no mosques.
There are a lot of Muslim nations and mosques in the world, but tragically, there are others where there are no Muslims at all. Unfortunately, there are other places where Muslims exist, yet lack the freedom to publicly profess their religion. It may not appear to matter if there are no Muslims living in a country, but there are a sizable number of Muslims anywhere. It is unjust to use the law to prevent people from being who they are and doing what they wish to. Slovakia. Slovakia is known to have around 10,940 Muslims in 2022, which is different from their 2021 census and raises a question that, is Slovakian government trying to suppress Muslim population intentionally? The question is quite concerning and quite unfortunately tells where our world is heading. The Slovakian government has ensured to bar Muslims from religious human rights. The state is actively ensuring to keep Muslims out of the country as they fear Muslims. We must do everything we can so that no mosque is built in the future, were the words of the chairman of Slovak National Party after they rejected war-affected Muslim refugees and immigrants from entering Slovakia. Also introduced a law to restrict any religion from getting registered as a minority under state laws unless the population of its followers is not above 50,000 figures. This made Islam as an unregistered religion. Slovakian Muslims were not even allowed to choose Islam as their religion on state census forms or any filings before 2021 census, so they had to choose others option. The others option is used for non-registered religions. However, it's believed the census did not represent Muslims authentically, and Muslim representation was suppressed intentionally by state government. Since religion is not accepted by the state government, building a mosque in Slovakia is still not possible in this century. Athens, Greece. Greece has gained some notoriety for its Lausanne Treaty with Turkey and its assurances of Muslim safety following the demise of the Ottoman Empire. However, Greece has made a point of exploiting such pledges in the past and in the present. One of the treaty pledges was to permit Muslims to freely exercise their faith. Yet, since the Ottoman era, Athens, the capital of Greece, has not had a single mosque. Sole one mosque was opened in November 2020, which was the only recent modification in 2020. Unfortunately, it can only accommodate 70 people at once, whereas there are 200,000 plus Muslims in Athens. Additionally, there have been several incidents of anti-Islamic posters and slogans being left on mosques in an effort to terrorize Muslims. Not only that, but Greece made Islamic organizations suffer by greatly denying them permission to build a mosque in Thessaloniki and by making Muslims travel great distances to visit mosques or to attend unofficial prayer locations. There are around 70 non-official praying spaces, of which 10 are permitted and others must be done in private. Andorra. Andorra is a Catholic state and have a previous record of not providing separate cemetery to both Muslim and Jewish communities for their beloveds' dead bodies. Of the 79,824 people living in Andorra, 2,228 are Muslims. Yet the country has never formally given Muslims a space to pray. When questioned, their responses are rather unappealing, such as the claim that there isn't enough affordable land now available for the construction of mosques. Despite the fact that all foreign Catholic priests were given citizenship and received their full salaries on schedule, The people of Andorra are generally anti-Muslim and opposed to religious freedom. This has also caused a lot of hurdles in the process. San Marino. San Marino, like Andorra, is a very small republic near Italy and is approximately one-third of whole Washington, D.C. The state has around few hundred Muslims out of its total population of 34,108. It's a Roman Catholic-dominated nation and therefore has very few mosques. Monaco. Monaco is a state with a population of just 36,469 people, with Roman Catholicism as its official religion, of which a minuscule fraction, quite insignificant, is Muslim. Iran and Arab Muslim travelers who come there do not obtain citizenship by the state and hence do not considerably expand or affect population of citizenship. Thus, there is no registered mosque yet, since apparently state officials believe there is no need for one right now. Uruguay. Uruguay is a secular state where the religion has no influence over public policy. Nevertheless, there are only 3 Islamic centers, and the land is still devoid of mosques. Due to the small number of Muslims living in Uruguay, most of them visit an Islamic center 5 times a day to pray. Sao Tome and Principe. Sao Tome and Principe is an African island near an equator with around 5,931 Muslims out of total population of 227,380. There are no known mosques on the island. However, there are some non-official prayer spaces along with 1 registered Islamic center. Other places are reserved for the Ahmadiyya community, who call themselves Muslims but are not under Sharia. Ahmadiyya is a separate religion and has no relation with Islam. Therefore, many Muslims believing in Quran and Sunnah avoid attending prayers there. Vatican City State. This one is quite different from the rest, and that's why it's on the last. Vatican City State is regarded as the center of Catholicism and the smallest nation in the world. It has a major historical and architectural significance and is located in the center of Rome. According to the Worldometer, it has currently 806 population as at December 27, 2022. Despite having a fairly small population, it is nevertheless quite conservative. The absence of a mosque may be due to a variety of factors, but one well-known reason is that the city is revered by Catholics as a place of worship. It receives thousands of Catholic pilgrims every year, and thus quite influenced by Catholicism. It has more Muslim tourists since it is less hostile to Muslims than other cities and nations, but has neither a Muslim local nor a resident. Muslim visitors are permitted to see Peter's Basilica and the Sistine Chapel, but they are only allowed to pray in their confined lodgings or apartments in order to reduce any unnecessary tension due to massive security. Given the Pope's injunction to keep bias at bay, it may be argued that the public is not antagonistic to Islam, Muslims, or adherents of any other religion. Pope have also organized several joint prayer meetings for Christians and Muslims. Not all, but the Pope has personally interacted with a few Muslims to promote polite dialogue between people of other ethnicities. This indeed inspires faith in humankind. As a Muslim, we are obliged to follow the law of land, and if the state prohibits unofficial prayer halls or spaces, it must be respected at all cost. By restricting people's fundamental human rights, one cannot undermine or deny the reality that Islam is the second largest religion in the world. Some countries believe it is acceptable to practice whatever hate they preach by placing regulations or limitations on specific fractions of persons who were born and nurtured in their nation by their own people. It is quite clear that neither the Bible nor any earlier scriptures have ever taught humans about this. It is people's inherent corruption and conflicting nature that drives them to impose illegal and unethical rules on others while failing to consider the fact that some of them, preaching hate and division, also reside abroad in nations that do not fully share their beliefs, but are still welcomed generously by the people they hate. When all Muslims want is freedom to exercise their faith, they have long been mistreated and considered inferior. Fascinatingly, on the other hand, God does always support those who are oppressed, and with time, they do notice a sizable assistance from the unseen. Perhaps this is why Islam is rapidly becoming the world's largest religion, granting rights and caring for the entire human race. Although it does speak of peace, some individuals portray it as being dangerous, where it isn't. When the Quran mentions military action, it also mentions peace and treaties. But they won't tell people this, so that anybody they're attempting to dominate and control mentally doesn't know the truth about the Quran and Islam. Thus, they lie, tell a public outright lie. They oppose the construction of mosques and prayer spaces in their nations out of concern that Muslims would harm them, when all Muslims do is prostrate themselves before God, the same God to whom they pray. However, no matter how hard you attempt to educate them, they will still strive to avoid learning about the subject and any essential background information. For many Muslims, this has made it extremely difficult for them to freely exercise their rights. May Allah accept our efforts and forgive our wrongdoings.
Well, that's actually a very interesting video, learning about some of the couples of countries who do not allow the building of mosques due to some of their state law. I think one of the country I was so much surprised about was actually Greece, because I know it to be one of these ancient country that has been in existence. So I was thinking that maybe civilization have helped to act on that to be able to accommodate Islam. You know, as for Saint Marino, Andorra, Slovakia, and the rest of it, that we are so much dominated by the Catholic. I was not surprised. And then also the Vatican City, those ones I was not kind of very surprised about, but it was actually Greece that surprised me the most. But then I feels like if some of these respective country prohibit, or should I say stop, Islam from being registered or being practiced in their country, I feels like when we talks about religion, it should not be actually be something that must be physically be seen practicing. It should just be something that should be between you and your God. So if the state prohibit you to pray publicly, I feels like you can actually go back to your various homes and just pray inside, because I believe that God will be looking at the inside, right? So God will understand you. When you go, you lock your doors and all that, you pray to him, God is actually there and he is going to answer you. You don't have to say that because they refuse to allow you to register or to practice publicly, then stops you from communicating with your God or worshiping your God. No, I think that you should just retreat back to your rooms or your various homes, teach your children or your family the values of Islam and what Islam is all about, and make sure that what you obey God's commandment. Whatever God have says that you should do, then you should do, and whatever he have says that you should not do, then you don't have to go in contra with it, because at the end of the day, one thing that matters is the judgment day. Right, when you go to your maker and then he asks you innocent questions, or whatever your deed has been here on earth, it's about you to come to defend whatever innocent have been here. I've always said in my video that we are just here on a temporal basis. So when you return back to your maker, that's on the judgment day, what are you going to say? Because at that point in time, of course, you're not going to say things innocent that are not true. Of course, everything is going to be what be revealed to you. So if your deed is being revealed to you, what would you say to your maker? This is just be innocent and not necessarily about whether they allows you to register or not. I believe that of course people are supposed to be allowed to practice their religion, but the thing is, because every state have their own constitution, and then the people or the legislation have decided whatever they feel is better for their peoples. But then if they decide not to include that, we can't force them to put it inside, but it's better for you to what, go back to your homes and then just pray. At the end of the day, when you go to heaven, they will not ask you about mosques, or they will ask you about churches. And this is also applicable to the Christians too. I believe that we could also have Christians who might be in Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the rest of it, right? So you will not say that because of maybe churches may not be allowed, maybe I stand to be corrected, then it feels like then you don't have to pray to God. No, what that is, there has been expected that at your secret places or in your rooms, you can just pray to God, right? When you pray to God, of course, God understands you, and then he understands the situation. God will not going to hold you responsible and says that because this is not allowed in this state, and then maybe that's the reason then you fails to worship him, you fails to obey his commandment. No, it's not a reason for you not to worship God or to practice your religion. You can actually practice it even in secret. So I feels like this is just the best way. But then anyway, lastly, I would just say that people should just be allowed to practice their religion, or else otherwise the law, they should try to soften it a little bit so that people who want to practice it should be seen practicing. Since like as for Christianity, we want it to be seen in our life, and not necessarily about me coming out and telling you that I am a Christian. When I say I'm a Christian, they should see the Christ-like have to be seen in my life, and how I do and how I also relate with people. So then let's hear from Nancy Grace before we conclude this video.
Wow, honestly, it's a very interesting video, and you have said a lot. But my own opinion and contribution is based on the countries that have no mosques. So if they are only allowed to pray in their various home places, I believe in the power of prayer, that when they pray, God can touch the heart of the leaders in those various countries. One day it will be allowed for them to practice their religion, and also they should continue to pray. Not only to pray, prayer is one of the key, but not all. But I think that as we are praying, that we should also just believe that in heaven there is no churches, there is no mosques, that we are praying. Let us also pray that God will help us to live a good life that will help us to make it to Jannah, to make it to heaven. So this is my own opinion, that whatever we are doing, we should also live a life that will help us, and a life that will glorify our Maker, for us to also to know the reason why we are on this earth, and live a good life that will take us to heaven.
Alright, so guys, this is the end of our video. If you like our reaction, you should like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any video you want me to react to, don't forget to drop it at the comment section, and I'm going to check it out. So guys, remain blessed.